Carson Daly just finishing up another go-around on The Voice here in May. I think that was the 8th, I guess they call them seasons, even though it's been more like 4 or 5 years. Tell us, first question I want to ask is about Pharrell Williams. You joined us last year around this same time, so Pharrell had not been on the show yet. He was on in the fall, and then he was on in the spring. What was it like adding that dynamic to the show?
Well, thanks, Chris, and thanks for having me on today. I mean, Pharrell really embodies everything that when we started this show, the definition of a coach, as opposed to what these other singing shows had in their judges, which were people who were, kind of making fun of people for their pursuit of their dream. And when we came out with our idea of mentoring and coaching, and could we be a big show on in prime time, but actually be uplifting? Is it possible to be popular and actually good family entertainment? Pharrell really embodies a lot of what ideally we wanted to do here. Usher did as well, but Pharrell is such a great producer, and he has such a great ear and eye for talent, and he's also very zen-like, and he's just a great guy. He's motivational. He really is just sort of the perfect, has all the qualities that we look for in a coach. So we were all thrilled to have him.
I remember a moment in the fall, his first go-around, and maybe this was good strategy, maybe it wasn't, because he ultimately didn't win the fall, but he had, it was maybe in like a top 15 range, and he had a couple of players up against each other, so it was his choice, and one was definitely better than the other one. I don't remember their names anymore, but he said, I've got more work to do with you, and gave up on the other player, knowing that they would be stolen by another coach. That just seems like the type of guy he is.
That's a good point. Yeah, he does that sometimes, and he also he likes the challenge, and he likes CeeLo was this way when we started the show, that because CeeLo himself, when he was coming up in music, was the exception to the rule, and somebody who finds strength in oddities, and Pharrell's that way too. He loves the juxtaposition of when he presses his button because he hears a voice that he likes a lot, and he turns around and that person looks nothing like who he thought maybe that would. He loves that, as opposed to maybe some of the other coaches were like, okay, I hear a strong female country voice. Boy, I hope she looks like Carrie Underwood, and we've got ourselves a winner here. And it doesn't work out that way. Pharrell loves that, man. He loves the whatever, just the person that doesn't fit like who you think it might be. And I think that's telling of who he is.
Well, I want to introduce you and our audience here to Denton Davidson. They've heard his name on our website so much because he keeps winning all of our reality show contests. And Denton won a lot of our individual weeks of The Voice this season, and he also won our overall voice prediction contest. So I think he's got a couple of questions for you.
Yeah, you talked earlier about other shows where the judges kind of make fun of some of the singing talent that comes on. How much do you actually vet the contestants that come on The Voice? Because from what I've seen, even since you guys started, you guys don't have contestants come on and try out that then just humiliate themselves, or they're wearing a frog costume, or something ridiculous. You have, like, everyone on that show is at least decent. So how does that process work?
Well, let me start by saying, Dan, thanks to you for watching so much of the show. We appreciate it, and that means a lot that you're that committed to it. And I know that your work here is winning every week practically is pretty cool. So thanks for that. But the vetting is when we started the show from the beginning, we got this format from another country, and a couple of things that we liked about it. Two things really spoke to us when we first saw The Voice. One was their commitment to social media. When we started this show in 2012, 2011. That was before there was hashtags all over every screen on primetime or in sports, and their commitment to engaging the audience online and working in that. I mean, I took this philosophy right to the Today Show, and since then, and have been like, you guys need to incorporate into your broadcast social media, because oftentimes in news we find that the social media element is now driving the story, and it was really that way early on in The Voice. So that was one thing that we've really tried to do well, and we have the Sprint Lounge now. We engage our audience 24/7. The other thing was the idea of having these artists come on, and starting off with a really high level of talent, going from good singers all across the board. Here's 110 great singers for the blind auditions. Whittling that down, the difference between good and great is an exciting find. It's easy to go from here's a lot of crappy singers. Let's find the really good one. Like, that's easier to do. So we thought the idea of bringing the highest quality artists to America every week and then finding the greatest of that already great lot would be more compelling TV, and it's worked out.
I like how you tell stories. I think that goes all the way back to me in terms of competition. I remember, you know, in the especially in the 80s, 90s, that's when we started seeing that with the Olympics a lot, where they would tell, let's tell the story of this person so people will know more about them. But I also like the fact that, of course, you're involved in some of those, but also you're backstage with the families, and you really seem to care about, you know, what you want that chair to turn as much as they do.
Yeah, it's, you know, I get it a lot on Twitter. You know, every blind audition, you know, the first 4 weeks, they see me back there pacing and screaming with the families, and you know, I find myself defending myself a lot because I think people maybe don't think how could I be that excited, and it's for people who really just don't know me personally. But to know me is to know that I really do care about the people that come on the show and their families, arguably more than our coaches or any other element of the show, because they're real people. And I want to make sure as a host, you know, and I think as a host there's your job on the air, but really what the average person will never see is you really need to be a host, you know, all the time. You know, you need to be a host when you're not shooting, and to be a good host, I think, is like if you had people over at your house, you know, you want to make sure everybody's comfortable and everybody has what they need and they know where the snacks are and they feel at home, and that's really what I try and do. And so when those blind auditions come around and families are there, I mean, I want them to win. I want their loved one to move on. I want them to have a good experience. And I really am. I mean, it's like we have 2 rooms the way we shoot it, and I kind of bounce back and forth. I can't physically be in every single blind audition that comes out, but the way that we shoot the show, I'm in about 50% of them. And it's, you know, it's like a wedding in one room and a funeral in the other sometimes. It really runs the gamut of emotion. So there's a lot of high highs and low lows, but it is an element of the show that I really love because I get to spend time, you know, shooting primetime TV, but I'm surrounding myself with just real, regular people, which is more comfortable for me.
Okay, Denton?
I just had a question about the elimination shows as well.
Yeah.
I know throughout the elimination show, you know there's going to be 2 that have to go through the Twitter stave. And throughout the episodes, you kind of are asking them these questions, like, tell us about how much you like your coach and how much the voice has meant to you or whatever. Do you have an idea going into that who's going to be in the bottom while you're listening to them, or do you get the results right at the end with everyone else of, all right, you guys got to sing for your life now?
I personally don't. There is so much data on the show, and I'm sure there are producers from the Monday night overnight vote who might have data from the totality of all of the voting, who might have a list of where everybody falls, 1 to 5 or wherever we are. But I don't know it in that moment. And then when the Twitter vote happens, that's obviously, you know, a clean slate for these 2 people to try and, in that short window of time, that instant save window of time, sing for their lives. You know, we started that because every time someone was on the bottom and sang, it was their most emotional performance. So the instant save was really born out of the idea of, well, if they were on the block, you know, a little bit more, we'd get better performances. Every time we've tweaked the format of the show, it's to try and keep all the best performers around, which is how the steal got there. Before the steal, during the battle rounds, great singers used to just walk off the show, and we'd be like, we have to find a way to bring them back on. So I don't know, but what's interesting is that when people start to talk, when I ask them a question like, hey, what's it been like to work with Blake, their personality comes out, and that really can affect the way America votes. So it's interesting to see how that all works.
And you're never tempted at the end when they're whispering the person going home in your ear to switch the name?
You know what? Honestly, Denton, I swear to God, it's a good question because I've never, you know, I've been hosting all live TV is all I've ever done. I mean, I have a radio background, MTV, you know, Total Request Live. It was live every day. Even the Today shows were live every day. The Voice, I love it when it's live. It's all I really know how to do. But I still am. Someone will send me YouTube videos of like hosts in other countries who, in those pivotal moments, won't read the wrong name, and so I'm sort of haunted by the idea of that. And that's the only part of The Voice where I don't have a name in front of me. They actually whisper in my ear that instant save result, and I really have to lock down my focus. I have to go like LeBron James, like full-blown intense to make sure I get the right name out. But it wouldn't put it past me if I screwed that up one day.
No, you wouldn't just yell out, "You're all wrong. I'm keeping so and so."
Yeah, right. In my mind, there's times where I'm like, wow, really? That's the person that's saved or going home. But you have to you don't let that stuff get out.
Well, that's what makes it so compelling, though.
Yeah. A lot of people have, the instant save has been interesting. It's been controversial for us, especially on the West Coast, because people have a hard time imagining, or people have of the notion that they're not a part of that vote. When the simple answer is that you are, we notify you on the West Coast. All you have to do is follow us on Twitter. We tell you who's on the bottom, and if you don't like that, then you can still vote. But the excitement of it has been far superior. We love where else in TV do you see somebody's fate play out in front of 10 to 15 million people in literally a 5-minute window? So it's been fun.
Well, I want you to admit something here. Most seasons are down to the wire. It seems like, you can't decide if it's going to be this one or that one or another one. How soon this season did you know, okay, Sawyer Fredericks is going to be really tough to beat?
I didn't know that soon for two reasons, Chris, because you never know how America votes. The trends in America, even since we've been on the air, when we started, because of the voting procedure, the youthful vote obviously was important because you could vote 10 times per method, per artist. There's language there that younger artist fans knew how to kind of stuff that ballot, if you will. They're very savvy to that, as opposed to if we had a 50-year-old who was there down the stretch. Well, maybe the people that enjoyed that, maybe they would text in that person's name. Maybe they would buy their song on iTunes. I've seen that change so much even in the first 8 cycles of the show, where everybody's pretty savvy now on how to vote, how to do it. And so I just don't know how people are going to vote. So with Sawyer, obviously he had a great voice in it, but we've seen a lot of people. It's a marathon. It's not a race, and I've seen people fatigue down the stretch. There's been people who've gone home that I thought were going to be there at the end. And you never know how America's going to vote. And a lot of the country artists, a lot of Blake's artists in the live shows, because they tell that story and they get so emotional. When Blake Shelton looks in the camera and ignites that Nashville bass and says, "Hey everybody, vote for this person," blah blah blah. That's powerful, because he really holds 8 million strong in his back pocket. So at this point, I can't really tell who's going to win.
Well, that's one reason why he's won more than any other coach.
I think that's true. And sometimes we've seen, like last year when Adam went to the finals with it was 3 against 1. He maybe there was some sort of some votes sort of offsetting each other, if you will, almost like a third-party political race where one side can get sort of cannibalized by having too many contestants.
We talked about that here the week leading up to, like, just from the frame point of what you just said of is this really a good thing for Adam? If whatever Adam's base is beyond his artist, just Adam's base, they're not going to know which way to go here.
That's a good point, and I think if ego-wise, it's great because Adam can say, "Hey, I got 3 into the finals," and really for him and for all the coaches. We say this tongue-in-cheek because this is kind of inside baseball here. To us, anybody who makes it to the finals has had a great 3 or 4 month run on the show, and we're happy for them. And sometimes, all of the Jennifer Hudson story, if you will, you don't have to win one of these shows to go on to have a great career. So we don't really look at the winner being the person who actually gets the trophy at the end. I think any of these people can go on to do great things. But yeah, to your point, Adam could have 3 in the finals, but that could kind of come back to hurt him a little bit, because as he's asking America to vote for him through all of his fans, they could, again, sort of cannibalize each other, and that leaves that lone wolf out there, all to themselves.
Okay, Denton?
Yeah, I've always said when I predict these things, and you guys ask me to write articles, I always say watch out for the country singers, because country is a huge fan base in America. But one thing about The Voice I've noticed is that it's not as predictable on The Voice, because you guys have had Tessanne Chin and Javier Colon, but on a lot of times, the country singers are definitely the ones. I always say, watch out for Craig Wayne Boyd last year. Yeah. I think I was the only one who picked him from the first week. I said, that guy's going to win because he can sing and he's country. But, yeah, it's an interesting mix on The Voice.
Well, the story is everything, right? The storytelling is such. This is really like Mark Burnett. This is the difference when we first got The Voice. And I was in a meeting, and I was like, "Here's the show. Here's the idea." It's like, "Great. Who's producing it?" And they're like, "Mark Burnett." It's like that's such a game-changing thing to say, not just because he's one of the most, famous producers of TV out there with great success stories. It's because he does cinematic television, and that's a difference maker. And I think, I love American Ninja Warrior, is one of my favorite shows because it's something I can watch with my 6-year-old. And I was watching it this year in particular. Their storytelling has been fantastic. I mean, it's been like it pulls at your heartstrings, and you immediately. And Craig Wayne Boyd, for us, that story he had about his father and their relationship, and how he's felt guilty that he's been out there working, trying to chase his dream in music, and here's his son, and he hopes his son one day, and then he sings that song that embodies all of that. To your point, Denton, that's all like really relatable television, and it's hard not to vote for him, where you're not even really listening to The Voice as much, you're rooting for a person. Now, that's all great TV, I think.
Well, one last question as we wrap up here. I know you and Adam like to get digs in at each other, but after he had the 3 in the finals in the fall, this whole season, it was like he wasn't getting those 4 chair turns anymore. He wasn't. This was a real struggle of a season for him, wasn't it?
It was, Chris, and it was fun to watch. Because Adam's the man, and we know it, and he knows it, and everybody knows it. And Usher gave him a run for his money, but Pharrell, that's the Pharrell factor. Pharrell really has come in, and Adam will be the first person to tell you this. It's the first time he's had to work and it's elevated Adam's game in the blinds to really sell himself to somebody, which he doesn't normally have to do. If there's a 4-chair turn, he would win most of those in previous seasons. Probably last year, Pharrell probably won more, which again makes for better TV because they're selling themselves. But it's been one of the great pluses of having Pharrell, because all these people who come out there know what Pharrell's done with artists in many different genres, and that's helped produce them to a great long career on and off a TV show. So it's not a bad choice to go with Pharrell.
Well, as competitive as Adam is, he's taking this break to figure out, okay, when I come back in the fall, what am I going to do different to make this even better?
Yeah. Oh, he's scheming right now. Adam's good. I mean, Adam came kicking and screaming to this TV show. To know Adam is to know how much integrity he has for music, and he doesn't like these types of shows historically. But he's been all in on The Voice, and he's been such a great breath of fresh air to primetime TV because he wears his heart on his sleeve. Even when he talks, he swears a lot, and he really just says what's on his mind and in his heart, and that really just, I think, makes for a new voice in primetime. And obviously, his band's doing so well, so you can't go wrong. But yeah, he's going to have to come up with a really strong pitch for Cycle 9.
And just announced yesterday, Gwen coming back for the fall.
Yeah, she's the best. Yeah, we've been lucky.
Charming.
Yeah, she's great. We've been lucky enough. I always liken it to Iron Chef. People say, well, there's people are leaving the companies. Listen, once you're an Iron Chef, you're up on the rafters. You're in the Hall of Fame. You're in there and you're out of there. You can come and go as you please. And we like to think that we give these big red chairs to these A-list artists. But we know they have to tour. They're not TV personalities. They're A-list, world-renowned artists. So when one goes and we're lucky enough to have another one come and pinch hit, we're lucky. And Gwen's fantastic. I mean, she's great to work with. She's great on the air. She's got a great sense of style. She understands the business. She's knows how to handle the boys. She's married to Gavin. They've got boys. She was in No Doubt with all guys, so she knows how to handle our guys on the panel, and she's been a wonderful addition.
Well, listen, thanks so much for your time today. Thank you, Denton. And Denton won a boatload of Amazon gift certificates this past.
Well, don't spend them all at once, Denton, and thanks again.
It's a good fun.
Good luck on the Emmy ballot this summer. You won 2 years ago. Amazing Race came back and took it away from you last year. So hopefully we'll see a reversal of that. And I want to see you on that reality host list. You really embody, I think, what they're looking for as an Emmy voter. I hope they'll take a good close look at you this time.
Oh, that's nice of you to say, Chris. It's a lot of fun to do the show. Awards aside, but we got over 1,000 people who work on the show now, and there's so many. So I'm so happy. If the show like The Voice can get a nomination, that's really just a big win. Is that our peers in the business and people who watch the show recognize it and enjoy it, and there's a lot of people that make the show good. So that team victory really is by just getting even nominated would certainly be special.